Okay, I think we are live. Yeah, I see the viewers here, the chat here. Good. Let me just quickly test it out on the page as well. Okay, yeah. Good, good. So I see it live on both
Great.
places. Okay. So, Assalamu alaikum everyone. I see that people are still joining in. Usually it takes a little while for StreamYard to show the viewers. We do have a few people logged in the timeline I can see. So it's good to have you here. This is Hafsa for all of you who don't know. I am the community manager for developers relations here in Pakistan. Recently started up this role at Google. It's been 2 months. And as a series of what we wanted to do at GDG Live Pakistan, we created this platform for us to be able to hear from technical experts, located across the globe, and to have a more casual session just to get to know them a little better and also to understand the Google technologies in a bit more light. So today we have a very, very interesting session, a very interesting person as well. I think कि मैं formal introduction कराने से बेहतर है that I'll just talk about my interaction with Umer so far. So I see that many of you, are taking part in the CloudSeekho campaign that we have ongoing, which is a great study jam platform where you can basically have unlimited access to Qwiklabs and you can enjoy learning cloud, in your own time and also try and win some really interesting swag. So we have the third season ongoing, and I thought it's only fair to, invite a cloud expert and hear his view on it. You're learning cloud. Why should you learn cloud? Why is it important? Should you learn it at all, or इसमें career perspectives क्या होते हैं? I think it's also important to understand that as well. So a week from now, I think it was almost 2 weeks ago that I got approached by Umer, who's a fellow Pakistani Googler based in Canada, and he wanted to contribute to the Pakistani community. What's interesting is that his journey also is very interesting to hear. He started from Karachi, then moved to Canada, and now he's working as a technical solutions engineer in cloud team for Google, and he's been associated with Google for a year. So I'm very, very happy and I'm very thankful for Omar to take out the time to actually meet all of us. If you have any questions, feel free to pop them down in the comment section. I'll try and answer most of them, and then Uma will answer all the questions towards the end. So I'll just hand over this virtual mic to Umar so he can introduce himself and then take over the day. Thanks, Umar.
Perfect. Thank you, Hafsa. Hello, assalamu alaikum, everyone. A very warm welcome to all of you. Thank you for joining us today. As Hafsa mentioned, my name is Umar, and I am your guest speaker for today. Before I begin, I would like to thank the GDG Live Pakistan community for having me here. I'd like to thank Hafsa. She is a very friendly yet persistent person, and it's because of her that I'm here today. Today, as part of the CloudSeekho program, we're going to be talking about, you guessed it, the cloud. So before we officially begin, though, there's a couple of quick housekeeping rules that I want to run by you. First of all, a disclaimer: the thoughts and opinions expressed in the following session are purely my own. Please do not hold my organization or the organizers for this event responsible for any slip-ups or claims made by me. Secondly, be engaging. So this is not a lecture. Initially, I had prepared lots of material, but you can always find material online or on Coursera. There's a lot of options available. So this is not a lecture. I usually like to keep things engaging and keep things like a two-way street. So I ask questions, you answer them. If this was an in-person event, it would be simple. I would see who's the person who's snoozing off or is not paying attention, and I would pick on them to answer my question. But because this is online, this is a bit different. So you'll have to make your presence felt through the comment chat section here. Feel free to comment throughout the session if there's something you like, something you don't dislike, something you agree with, something you disagree with, something you want more clarification on. Please feel free. I'm going to be monitoring it throughout, as is Hafsa. Speaking of which, let's go on to our next part. The third part is buckle up. So if you have had the unfortunate moment of ever having listened to me, I like to keep things lighthearted and make random jokes here and now again. My friends always say, Umar, you are not a stand-up comedian. Please stop making jokes while presenting. But like the person who knows that he is bad at singing but sings anyways, I refuse to stop making dry jokes. So you're in for a treat. Um, this is a very informal and non-technical talk, more of a gupshup, more of a chit chat. Um, this is being live streamed, I believe, on Facebook and YouTube. If you are interested in a more personalized, more exclusive event where I talk and you can ask me questions, or I can hear your concerns, we are in the process of figuring out whether to have a more, more personalized session later on. So if that's something that interests you, please feel free to let Hafsa know, or comment, or let the organizers of this event know. With that being said, like I said, so one of the key things I learned while giving presentations is to know your audience, know the people who you're talking to. And so in that regard, I just have a quick request from all of you that if you are a student, let me know, or if you're a professional, let me know. If you're a student, please comment 1. If you're a professional, please comment 2. That way I can let you, like, I can gauge basically what the audience I have today. And I'm gonna literally stop here for 2 seconds, or for 30 seconds, that I'm dead serious that I do want this to be engaging. So I'm not gonna talk unless you guys comment. Perfect, thank you. So I have a 2, I have a 1. So if I could get just a couple more. I mean, like I said, all right, perfect. Thank you guys. I see a couple of familiar names as well. Right. So I see a bunch of students, final year students. So students, you're also in for a treat, because even though I don't like to quote from movies, I also like to reference pop culture. So during this presentations, there might be a couple of references to pop cultures, to movies as well. So stay tuned. With that being said, let's officially begin. The agenda for today is a short introduction about me. And then we will talk about the life of a technical solutions engineer. We will talk about cloud opportunities, particularly in Google Cloud. We'll talk about the CloudSeekho program. And then we will also have a question and answer session. A very humble request that I have for all of you is, I mean, you're free to ask questions in the comment section, but if you're asking me, please stay on track, because we are short on time and I want this to be as productive as possible. And so because time is of the essence here, please do not ask irrelevant questions. Please do not ask me, how do I register for this competition? Because all of that is available on the website. Please do not ask me to compare AWS versus Azure versus GCP. Please do not ask me what is the magic pill to get into Google. And also, please do not ask me for swags. I'm still waiting on mine. With that said, let's begin the introduction. So I am originally from Karachi, Pakistan, but I was currently, before COVID hit, I was currently based in Waterloo, and I am working out of the Google office in Kitchener, Ontario. And so your immediate question should be, well, Umer, how did you get from Karachi, Pakistan to Waterloo, Canada? And the answer is quite simple, right? In the early 1900s, we came up with this remarkable feat of engineering technology called the airplane, which transported me. I told you I like to joke around. There's a bunch of awesome Pakistani Googlers at Google, and if they were here today, they would be much better speakers, keep you guys more engaged. Unfortunately, you guys are all stuck with me here today, so you'll have to bear with me. But the more pertinent question, jokes aside, is you're probably wondering how I landed a job at Google. And so my journey begins with studying at the University of Waterloo. I was enrolled at the University of Waterloo. I started off as an ECE, Electrical and Computer Engineering students. It's a very competitive program, and I was fortunate and lucky enough to be accepted into that program. While still studying there, I got a offer to join Nakina Systems as a product verification engineer. Nakina Systems is a company that used to deal with adapters, that specialized in adapters before it was acquired by Nokia, I think around 2015, 2016, around that time. I must have done something right as a product verification engineer, because when my time was up, when my contract was up, they asked me again, hey, would you also be interested in a customer support engineer role? And so in addition to working as a product verification engineer, I was also working as a customer support engineer. That's why there's two bookmarks with Nakina Systems. Then things happened, and I had some family commitments, family reasons, which led me to come back to Pakistan. Once here, I transferred over to FAST and started my bachelor's in science, computer science degree. While still enrolled, I worked. I got my first gig as a web editor at Kinect. Then I moved on to a QA engineer at Kilo Cricket before going to Core Data as a data intern. After that, I was offered a data analyst opportunity at FCT, which is based in Oakville, Canada. I worked as a data analyst there before joining Google as a technical solutions engineer, TSC. As Hafsa mentioned, I just completed my Googleversary 1 year at Google a couple months back. So the next question probably arises: what is a TSC? You say these fancy acronyms like they're supposed to mean something to us. So what is a TSC? I'm so glad you asked that question, Umer. Let's go on to what a life of a technical solution engineer, or TSC, looks like. Um, so the easiest way to think about technical solution engineers is as firefighters. We basically help customers, our customers who use our Google Cloud products. We help them when an issue arises. And so think of us as like firefighters. When everything is going fine and dandy, no one thinks about us. But the moment something catches on fire, or there's a major issue, or there's an outage, we're usually the people who get called up, and we try to put out the fire. If you want to think it, and so we kind of help mitigate that issue. So once something comes up, we assemble, Avengers assemble, we assemble, and we try and put out that fire. If you want to think of it in terms of pop culture, we would probably be the Doctor Strange in Avengers, because we are always there. We're monitoring the situation, but we don't step up unless something is required of us. We provide workarounds, we mitigate the issue, we put out the fire. If you're looking for a concrete example, you might be aware that a couple of weeks ago, Gmail went down for a couple of hours for certain parts of our clients. And so we identified the issue, we found out what was broken, we mitigated the issue, and then we were able to put Gmail back up and again. So it's kind of important work, but not always highlighted. But we're also not always putting out fires. Sometimes the customer, or sometimes our customers just come with us and they want expert opinion on a product. So for example, BigQuery, they want to know how to optimize their query. Or for example, a data flow, they want to know how to improve their data flow structure. Or oftentimes also there's some constraints, some limitations that we're supposed to work with. And so customers could also come up with like, hey, we want to do this, but our current products, our current infrastructure doesn't allow us to do that. So can you offer us expert advice on how to do that? We also advocate for our customers. What this basically means is we are kind of like the middleman between the customers, then you have us, and then you have engineering, product engineers. And so if there's a feature request that needs to be put in, like the customer feels, hey, this would be a great feature request in the next release, it is our job to convey that to engineering. It is our job to convince the importance of that feature request. It is our job to make sure that feature request is worthwhile. Subsequently, if there's already a feature request, we also help amplify the voice of that feature request. Conversely, if there is something from engineering that needs to be conveyed to the customer, if we need the customer to set up their framework, their environment in a particular way, that's also where we come in, and we tell them that this is our recommendation, these are our steps, please work on them. So we are a customer advocacy group as well. We advocate for our customers. We also serve as subject matter experts, or SMEs, for our internal stakeholders. What this basically means is when people from engineering, sales, or customer organizations, they have technical deployment issues, obstacles, we're expected to solve those issues, as well as improving the cloud in the meantime as well. So that's basically kind of what we do. If you want a quick summary of what a TSC's life looks like, we get cases which we work on, we fix those cases, we pass it back on. I mean, that's a very straightforward, simple version of what we do. So your next question should be like, hey, Umer, you're always talking about cloud products. What exactly are your cloud products? And that's a great question, Omar. I'm so glad you asked that. So at Google, we have over 100 cloud products. This list is by no means exhaustive and is constantly being updated and changed. This list has been created by the Google Developer Relations team. It's a very helpful cheat sheet to look at because it not only tells you what product we have, but also provides you a one-liner on what that product does. So if you're, for example, preparing for your GCP data engineering exam, or if you just want to know what what are the products to look at, this sheet has been immensely helpful in my journey. And so these are a huge bunch of products. I'm pretty sure they're not visible, they're not eligible at this point, but please do check them out when you can. So these are briefly our products. Like I mentioned, we have over 100 products, 100 cloud products. And so it would be kind of impossible for one person to be a subject matter expert in all 100 of these products, 100 or more of these products. And so we must have a way of filtering things out. Muhammad Usama says, Assalamu alaikum, hope you're doing fine. I am, thank you. I hope you guys are doing fine as well. But yeah, you must have a way of filtering out these products. And the answer is yes, we do. So if you think about technical solution engineers, we are divided into four shards. We have four shards, or you could think of them as four teams or four working groups, basically. So we have the networking team, we have the infrastructure team, we have the platform team, and we have the big data team. Each shard has its own specialized products that they're responsible for. So for networking, you might have certain products. For infrastructure, you might have other products. For platforms, again, you have some products that you are responsible that as a TSC you are responsible for. So when someone says they're a TSC, the next follow-up question that you should probably ask them is, well, what shard do you belong to? Do you belong to networking, infrastructure, platform, or big data? And there's always a friendly rivalry between all four of these shards. I've been fortunate enough to work and have the opportunity to work on the big data team. So I am a technical solutions engineer, big data, and so I work on a specific subset of Google Cloud products. Which brings you to your next question. Can you mention those specific products? Again, love the enthusiasm, Omar. I'm so glad you asked that. Um, so if you look at a couple of them, I mean, these are a couple of the products that I see on a daily basis. Again, this is not an exhaustive list. These change back and forth. But if you look at them, if you look at AI building blocks, and so like I mentioned, right, this is particularly for big data shard. So when you look at AI building blocks, I've had the opportunity to work on auto ML, which is basically custom machine learning models where you train and deploy them. I worked on natural language, which is sentiment analysis and classification of unstructured text. I've worked on dialogue flow, which is conversation application and system development suite for virtual agents. Think of it as like your virtual chatbot. Then I've also worked on data analytics products. So if you think about BigQuery is a huge part of Google Cloud. You could think of BigQuery like a data warehouse. Then we have Dataprop, which is a service used to run Spark and Hadoop clusters. We have Dataflow, again, one of my favorite products. It's a streaming analytics for stream and batch processing. We also have PubSub, which is you could think of that like a messaging service for event ingestion and delivery. Other than that, we have a bunch of other products as well, right? We have Cloud Healthcare API. And because even though I tried to paint the four shards as different, so you have the networking shard, infrastructure shard, the platform shard, and the big data shard, because our products are so good, one customer doesn't just use one product. So you might have a Google Cloud Storage putting information into a PubSub, which then where Dataflow comes in, and there's a pipeline, and then BigQuery comes in, which is putting where the data is. And so because there is a cross contamination or a cross working with the products, so it would we aren't restricted to one particular product as well, right? So even though I said each shard has its own specialized product, it's possible for a data or for a big data engineer to be working on or get exposure to data networking infrastructure, other products as well. So that's where the other part comes in. Even though I do not work with them directly, because the customer's environment is set up such that I get to interact with that. So examples would be cloud storage, Google Workspace, Cloud Functions, Compute Engine. Perfect. So I also talked a lot about our customers, right? We have some major customers, and if you're looking for a quick glance of them, these are some of our customers that we work with. Again, these aren't huge customers, but we have other huge customers as well. These are customers whose information is available on the website. Their success stories, why they chose us, why they chose Google Cloud. It's worth the read. I mean, if you want to read something, I would highly recommend doing this. If you want the complete list, you could go to cloud.google.com/customers. If you want the complete list of products that we offer, it's cloud.google.com/products. So yeah, a couple of our customers that come to mind are PayPal, Home Depot, Twitter, P&G, UPS, Sky. Again, like I mentioned, if this is not an exhaustive list, you feel free to go through this list on your own. A couple of good to see familiar faces. Good to see everyone as well. Perfect. So let's move on to our next topic, right? Which is basically opportunities in cloud, in particular Google Cloud. So you could probably turn over and be like, hey, Umer, that's great. You've told me what a technical solution engineer does. He talks to customers. He fixes their problems. He talks to engineers. He makes proposals on behalf of customers. He sees a problem. He fixes it. That's great. That's perfect. That's something you enjoy. But you could always turn around and say, hey, Umer, that's something I don't fancy myself doing, or that's something I don't prefer doing. Are there any other opportunities that you have? And my answer is yes. There are plenty other opportunities. If you want to get invested in cloud, there are plenty other opportunities where you could go. And so you have these are a bunch of opportunities that you could come across. I think if you go on Google's career site, Google Cloud's career site, you could also find other roles as well. But a couple that come to mind are cloud software engineers. We could work on setting and privacy, cloud consultants, data centers, business systems, sales. So just allow me to give you a quick 2-minute demo on each of them. So if you're more interested in, let's say, influencing the direction of cloud computing, and you're more interested in actually building the products instead of maintaining them or fixing them or working on them, cloud software engineers is definitely the right place for you guys to experiment. You could also work on security and privacy. So if you have that knack or that ability to find security flaws, or you have that persistency to always be looking for workarounds or like loopholes, then that would be a great place for you to go. Right? You'd be finding security flaws. You would be building secure infrastructures. So that's a great place to work on. Cloud consultancies, again, this is a huge role because you are solving and publishing solutions to complex problems that arises. A very important field that we have. But if you want to create a more of an impact, you want to be like the guy, if I don't show up for work today, or if I mess up something, I might screw up something really bad, then data center is probably the thing for you, because you would be managing one of the most powerful, most sophisticated server networks in the world. And you would be responsible for keeping the internet running 24/7. Huge responsibility and something to put on your CV, right? That you're responsible for maintaining the internet 24/7. But if you're more towards the business side, you could develop, integrate, improve Google internal business systems and applications. Again, this also falls out under the cloud domain. But if you're more of a talker, if you're more of a person who likes to sell things, you're more of like the person who's like, sell me this pen type of person, then you could always go into sales, where you could help our customers transform their business. And so you would not only be doing something that you love, but you would also be helping customers to improve their efficiency, because you would be linking them up with Google's global data centers and software products. So that's again a really great initiative. That's a really great opportunity for you to go into. this brings us to the crux of today's talk, which is about CloudSeekho. You could always find all the posts about CloudSeekho slash hashtag CloudSeekho. We are in the third iteration of CloudSeekho. So if you want TV series reference, you're kind of like in the third season, right? Things have drastically picked up. Things have built up. There's an audience, and now you're kind of in like the crux of the season. So you're in the third season of CloudSeekho. This is a national level Cloud Jams sessions. Basically, what happens is it gives you an insight, it gives you a glimpse into the Google Cloud Platform tools and technologies. So you would basically be on a lesser scale, but you would still be using the technologies, the tools that we make available to our customers and for which they pay huge amounts of money, right? You would be getting a glimpse of that for basically free. And so it's a brilliant opportunities, and I would highly recommend people to get into that. And the way you do that is you get 1 month access to Qwiklabs. It is open to all students enrolled in a registered university program. More details are available on the event page of this event as well. But there's like, if you just, I think, to Google CloudSeekho on Google search, you'll probably come across it, or just search anywhere, either Instagram or Facebook, hashtag CloudSeekho, you'll come across a variety of posts. So again, I think this is a huge opportunity. We're in its third season. So like I mentioned, we are in the third season of this event. And this time around, there's 2 quests that are available. And yes, so the link, Hafsa has just so kindly put up the Google CloudSeekho link on the page as well. So if you're following along that, it's on the comment section. So this time around, we have 2 available quests. So if you want to, again, go into pop culture, you want to think of yourself as that knight in shining armor, you have 2 quests where you could do. There's 2 villains that you need to overcome. You have the infrastructure modernization quest, where you would be creating and managing cloud resources. You would be performing foundational infrastructure tasks in Google Cloud. You would be setting up and configuring a cloud environment. You would be automating infrastructure on Google Cloud with Terraform. Terraform is something that's huge as well, and something that I have had the fortune of working during my role as well. Then you have cloud architecture as well. And these, again, we could, because this isn't meant to be a technical talk, we could work on, we could have a more in-depth or more detailed session on how all of these things work. I'm totally open for that. If that's something that interests you, please let the organizers know. We'll have a feedback session after this. Please make your concern known through the comment section. We can have a more, I could have a more walkthrough, or we could have a more detailed session on how all of these things work. So yes, that is your first villain. You have infrastructure modernization quest that you need to overcome. We also have application modernization quest, where you have your serverless cloud run deployment, you have your serverless Firebase deployment. You could build a website on Google Cloud. You could deploy to Kubernetes in Google Cloud. You could also learn about optimizing costs for Google Kubernetes engines. Because I think the last one is important, because even though you have a free trial at this moment, in your future life, you would always want to know, you would always want to optimize costs. And you would be surprised on the amount of cases where people don't have a optimized path, and they want to figure out an optimized path. So even in your future life, I think this is a great quest to take. So I've kind of like shown my biasness for which quest I would prefer. But I think that's a great quest to take, because you would become more aware of not just how to run Google Cloud technologies, but how to optimize as well. I thought, we could also start off, but I could also tell you about, the benefits of taking cloud, or what exactly is cloud. But again, these things are already available on the internet. So if you want to knock yourself out, please do so. You have full free hand to learn about clouds. I think there's a couple of great Coursera courses as well. But yeah, I just want to keep this a more meaningful conversation. So coming back to CloudSeekho, it provides, like I mentioned, it provides you the same platform that our major customers are using. So if you look back, you saw we had Twitter, we had P&G, we had a couple of huge UPS, we had a couple of huge multinational, multi-billion-dollar companies that are using our technologies. And so you getting an exposure to this is phenomenal. And I think something to take advantage of. A couple of years ago, this probably wasn't available. So I would highly encourage you guys to work on that. It could also potentially help you in your final year project. And I mentioned the word potentially because just taking a quest or just reading about a quest isn't enough to help you. It's also about how you integrate what you've learned with what you're doing. So even if let's even move aside final year projects, right? Even if you are able to integrate what you've learned into a course project, that's great, right? Because now you're actually showing something that you don't have just this fancy badge, but you have a way to demonstrate this, and that is something that employers do look at, right? And then this brings up to the whole, hey, are certifications worth it? Or should we even get certifications? What's the benefit of certifications? And again, this is a conversation we can have later on. But once you are able to demonstrate a working knowledge of something, that's phenomenal. That's great. That's something most employers would be impressed with, especially in my humble opinion, if it's something like Google Cloud Platform tools. So yes, if you learned something from here today, or if you learned something from CloudSeekho, and if you are able to implement that into your final year projects, if you're able to incorporate that into maybe your startup, or maybe there's a use case for that in your business, these are potentially great things. These are potentially great benefits of experimenting with CloudSeekho. It also spices up your resume, because if you're taking part in a national level study jam session, and you know how to properly arrange your resume, that is something that you could potentially highlight to your employer, right? Because this is a national level study jam session that is recognized by Google, that is approved by Google, so that is I think that is something that you could look into, and that is something that you should be interested in. But let's say you are still not convinced. You're like, all right, Umer, you talked about how this would benefit me in the long run. You talked about how I would gain exposure to products, how I would gain exposure to products, technologies, and softwares that major customers use. You talked about, this is a great learning opportunities. You talked about this is a great way to learn about cloud by not just reading about cloud, but by actually playing around with the cloud, by actually experimenting with the cloud. But you're like, no, Umar, that's all great and fine and dandy, but you still don't have me convinced. And for those people who are on the fence, they're still like, should we actually, take out time to do it or not? Don't worry, I got you covered. I know that, and I know the reasons why you go to job fairs. I know the reasons why you go to recruitment drives. And it's not because you're looking for jobs or exposures or to meet great people. It's to, drum roll please, get swags. And so one opportunity that if you take away nothing from this, take away this. If you complete 5 quests of your choice, you get to win amazing swags. So that is kind of the icing on top. That is the cream of the cake. That is the extra thing that we've thrown in. That kind of we could talk more about details, but I would more like to hear from you guys on what you think, what you if you have any questions, if you have any concerns, if you have any clarifications that need to be done, please feel free to ask. I know we booked this for an hour, and I'm right on time in terms of finishing my schedule, because I want to leave some part of this for a Q&A. So as a closing note, I would like to thank GDG Life Pakistan for having me. I would like to thank Hafsa. Like I mentioned, she is a very persistent but very friendly person to have. I'm glad to have known her over the past couple of weeks. She's been extremely helpful. I would like to show my appreciation and thank her for that. We have a feedback form. If the GDG Live Pakistan could pin that, it's bit.ly/cloudtsc. Please note though, cloudtsc is case sensitive. So the C would be capital and TSE would be capital. And so here, what you can basically do is provide your feedback. If there was something you like, something you dislike, please provide your feedback. If you're interested in more a more personalized session, a more exclusive session, or you're interested in more of a technical talk, please feel free to comment there. There's an option there which I think is how interested are you in another session like this. Please feel free to mention that. It's also been commented on our page, on our comment section. So please, I would strongly encourage you to take, like, I think 2 minutes of your life, and then just comment there what you felt was good, what you felt was bad. If you are interested in a more exclusive, personalized, interactive session, please comment there as well. If you want to reach out to me, because I'm based in Karachi, the best way for you to reach out to me is to invite me to your local dhaba, and we can have a chai and then we can talk. But because that is not possible, or that might be difficult in some situation, please feel free to reach out to me on LinkedIn. The following is my LinkedIn ID. I have the same LinkedIn profile picture as the event picture today. You know how sometimes you get one good picture and you keep using it for a couple of years. That's the case with me. So please feel free to add me on LinkedIn. I'm not super active, but once I do get a chance, I would be more than happy to answer your session. I would be more than happy to answer any of your questions. Which brings us to the final part of the session, which is the question and answer session. If anyone has any particular questions, please feel free to ask. If you're interested in, what more do you do as a technical solution engineer? Are there any cases you could talk about? What's the best thing you like about working at Google? Is do you actually get free food? Is there a slide there? What is the scope of Google Cloud? Please feel free to ask. We have some time, and I'd appreciate any questions. I'm just going to go through the comment sections. Good to see Umer, loving the session. Crimza Moment, who was also recently featured on YouTube as the first. I hope she doesn't butcher me. She doesn't get mad for butchering the term. I think it's Google Developer. She was the DSC lead, Developer Students Club lead. She's commented, so great to see her as well. My name is Saad, and I'm a software developer at October now. Great. Why Google Cloud? So Zan Bassett has a comment where he's saying why Google Cloud increases the price of Google Auto ML products. They just received the email yesterday from Google Cloud. Yeah, that's a tough one. I think that's something that you would need to ask the sales or the marketing team for that. But generally, I think if you're a student, or even if you're not a student, if you have a Gmail account, if I'm reading this correctly, you get $300 worth of credit, which I think expires in a year, but you get $300 of worth of credit. So even after CloudSeekho is over, you still want to experiment with Google Cloud. I would strongly suggest you sign up for the trial that we have. Afia says, Assalamu alaikum. Glad to see you, Umer. Informative session. She's a final year student at Fast Uses. Wa alaikum salam. Great to see you as well. SM Zaman has a question where he says, how can non-CS graduates align themselves with cloud technologies? Yeah, this is a good question, SM. Thank you for this question. And so you could even make this question more generic. You could even say, if there is a non-CS student and he wants to get into the CS field and he's graduated from a different degree, let's say a non-CS degree, how does he get in? How does he make the transition? In one word, hard work, probably. So even though you don't have a CS degree, if you're really good in CS, for example, if you have projects to showcase your skills, if you have blogs, if you have, there's different avenues to showcase your CS skills. If you want to talk about cloud specifically, there's plenty of opportunities where you can deploy cloud products and then, show them on your resume. So even though you don't have that CS degree, you could potentially work your way into a CS program. I know a lot of people. I know a couple of people at Google who don't have a CS degree, and they transition themselves into a CS field. I know a lot of people who are working in a role that they don't have a degree for. So it's not impossible, but you need to be very selective. You need to have a fixed frame of mind. You need to have a fixed idea on where you're going. Perfect. So Kamran says he would prefer a more exclusive technical part in the next session. Um, Kamran, please feel free to comment on the feedback that we've mentioned. There's a feedback forum. And sorry, for the people who are not watching this live, you guys are, you guys woke up at 10 p.m. on a Sunday night, and you're like, okay, let's see what the fuss was about. And you're scrolling through Facebook and you come across this post, this newsfeed. And if you followed along, firstly, congrats for following along so well for 40 minutes. But if you followed along and you still have feedbacks, you still have comments, you still have questions, please feel free to comment. Even if you're interested in an exclusive session, please feel free to do that. So Kamran, if you're interested in a more exclusive and technical part, please let your feelings be known in our feedback form. Muhammad Akash says, thanks a lot for this great session. Thank you for your kind words, Akash. Kamran Ahmed again, he says, can Google Cloud help me to build my career as a data analytics? Yes, so that is a great question. And I might be in a good position to answer that because my previous role was as a data analyst. So I transitioned from data analyst to a data engineer slash a cloud engineer in a way. So so it's very important, and this is very good important advice to have that one of my friends gave me. It's very important to know what you want to do and why you want to do. So Kamran, if you want to get into data analytics, you first want to make sure that your thinking is clear. And you want to be like, okay, why do I want to get into data analytics? Is it because it's something that is, it has a lot of money, or it's, everyone is doing it, so I'm deciding to do it as well? Is that what your interest is? Or is it because something you're really passionate about? So for example, I know there's a lot of Pakistani students here at the moment. A lot of Pakistani students take part in speed debugging competition or speed programming competitions. And the reason you do that is not because you are interested in it. It is because everyone is doing it, right? And there's a lot of bragging rights involved if you win the speed programming competition. But figure out what you're good at. Figure out what you're passionate in. If it's UI UX, go for that. If it's database, go for that. So if you look through a couple of slides earlier where I was talking about my pathways, I wasn't always in cloud, but throughout my career, I figured out what I wanted to do. So I felt I was a good talker and I wanted to talk to customers. So that was my first thing. I really wanted to do something along the lines of data, and I had a strong interest in cloud. And so it took me a while, but eventually I found that role which merged all three of the things that I was passionate about. And so, Kamran, I know we sidetracked, but firstly, figure out what you're good in, what you're passionate about, and improve on that. Coming to the question of, can Google Clouds help build my career as a data analytics? Google can help build your career as a data analytics, and I'll tell you why. Because we recently launched a certificate, and I'm not 100% sure whether it's available in Pakistan or not, but we launched a data analyst certificates for people, for the underprivileged communities in US and Canada who didn't have the opportunity to go to university. So if you, from their perspective, if they take this course, Google tends to treat that equal to a 4-year degree. Please look this up. I might be wrong, or I might have the facts up and down. But I'm aware of that product because I was one of the beta people who worked on that certificate. So I passed that certificate. I helped shape that certificate in a way. I provided feedbacks. I helped navigate through that certificate. So the Google Data Analytics certificate. Let me see if I can quickly pull that up. So yes, perfect. Thank you. So on the GDG Live Pakistan, we have that certificate, right? It's a professional certificate, Google Data Analytics. So I would strongly encourage you to take that. And that's where you, and this also brings the question to which, I really want to get the name right. Which Kamran said. And that was, if you're looking to start off a data analyst certificate, data analyst career, I would say start off with this certification because it helps you, gives you an overview, and also goes into a bit of in depth about the data analyst certificate. I know that was a long answer, but I hope that answered the question. Samima Khan says, wonderful session, enjoyed it. Thank you, Samima. Zen Bassett says, I run cloud auto ML projects on client account. He build, I think he means GCP. GCP billed $2,000 in GCP with Vision API. He screamed at me in Fiverr. I'm also confused why it's so expensive right now, as it never happened before. Basit, I'm not sure. I mean, without checking your project, I'm not sure why you were billed $2,000. But you could always view through. I think if you go through billing, you can always view your overall how you were billed, where you were billed. So I would strongly suggest you do that. Also, you could also set if you're using uh, I think it's logging. If you're using logging, you could also set a metric which would say, hey, if I'm going over, let's say $100 worth, let me know, or send me an alert, send me a notification. You could always do that as well. So I'm not 100% sure on why you were billed so much, but in future, if you want to avoid that, you could always use metrics and some ways to get notified. What should I start with in Google Cloud? Which product? Deepak Kumar says, what should I start with Google Cloud and in which product? Again, Deepak, this brings me to the question I answered for Ibra Kamran, and that was find out what you're good in, right? If you have a passion for data analytics and you want to run queries, BigQuery would be a great place to start. If you're more interested in machine learning, AutoML projects would be great. If you're interested in building a chatbot, go for Dialogflow. If you want to build a pipeline, we have Dataflow. If you want to run Sparks and Hadoop clusters, go with Dataproc. But I would suggest, don't overthink this. Don't be like, oh, I need to find the perfect product before I can start. Start off with a product and then work your way towards it. So, for example, if just this is just an example. So if you start off with Google Cloud Storage, right, load data into it, and then see what can you do. Oh, you can create a pub sub, a messaging service for ingestion, and then you can incorporate your pub sub product. Then you could use Dataflow and stream that data into BigQuery. Then from BigQuery, you could go to Data Studio, and you could actually visualize your query results. So don't overthink it. Just see what you're good in, and then just start, I would say. Anigul has tagged Lisanullah. Kamran Evan says, thank you so much. You're welcome. Dan Bassett says, certificate is available in Pakistan. So yes, please feel free to go there. Many things are clear. And then we have a couple of people tagging their friends. If there are no other questions, I think we can break out.
Yeah. So I think
Yeah,
you
sure.
should be able to see me and hear me again. I magically just appeared
Yeah.
in this conversation. I'm happy to see that the audience is interacting. I think it was a wonderful session. I was there lurking in the shadows, just trying to laugh on the jokes that you've made, which were funny, by the way. I'll give you that. Thank you so much for taking out the time on a Sunday evening. I know it's the weekend, everybody's busy. I would also like to thank everybody in the audience for actually taking out the time, and sitting and listening through it. I hope that it was a helpful session. I see that many of you are actually a part of CloudSeekho program as well. So I'm hoping that that will benefit in your career as well. I think the purpose of having this session was for you to understand that once you've done CloudSeekho, how can you advertise it? I'm a marketer by profession. I like to advertise everything that I do, and I will kind of give the same advice to everybody as well. So I think the points that Umer mentioned, build up on them, figure out what is it that you really want to do, what is it that you really want your career to be in, figure out a path for yourself, and then start advertising the little wins that you have, whether they are like completing quests in CloudSeekho or whether there was something else that you contributed to. Again, I'm happy to see positive feedback in the comments. It means that you learned something out of it. If you have any feedback, if you have any additional comments, feel free to fill out the feedback form. The link is actually in the comment section. We would love to hear more from you, understand anything else that Umar can cover for you as well, anything else that another cloud expert perhaps can come up and answer. We would be happy to kind of facilitate that introduction. And on that note, Umar, thank you so much. Wonderful session. Hoping to have you here more frequently. Again, I'm going to try not being that persistent, but it was really nice having you on the space. All right, take care,
Perfect.
everyone.
Thank you, Afsa, for Perfect. Thank you,
Love
Afsa, for having me.
us.
Thanks, guys. Love this, everyone.